going on YouTube? This is Justin Valencia alongside with Delaware Mike. We have a very special guest today, the ultraviolet underground participant, the carnivore, Remington Rhor. Thank you. Oh, there he is. Thank you for being with us. How are you doing today? How's everything going?
I'm good, man. It's a pretty chill day. Got it, the shoot was short. I got a nap in, got some good grub. I'm happy.
Good. Thank you for joining us today. Let's get started. First things first, you grew up in Kansas City, Kansas, correct?
Yeah, Wichita, Kansas, about 3 hours south of Kansas City.
Wichita, awesome. What was your first introduction into pro wrestling?
First introduction was like my cousins. They were really into like the Attitude Era of WWF, and I was around like 7 or 8 when they were watching it, and ended up playing the video games a lot. And I got super attached to characters like Mankind and The Undertaker, and kind of slowly became a fan from there, and eventually started watching all the weekly shows. I was around like 11, so I would catch Raw on Mondays. At the time, Tuesday was when they were doing the WWE ECW. Thursdays was TNA, and Fridays was SmackDown. So
awesome. That was for PlayStation, your first when you got introduced to it?
64. Like No Mercy was probably my first like wrestling game.
Oh wow, that was probably, in my opinion, the best wrestling game of all time. No Mercy.
That one's really good. I still think like the first SmackDown versus Raw is like the best. Like the whole lineup, the roster is super good. The backstage brawls are dope. I'm also just a giant Rhino mark, so every time you get to gore somebody off the Titan truck, like I'm happy.
That's great. Yeah, those games are good. Those games were classics back in the day. So what made you? What was the point in your life when you were like, I have to be a wrestler?
Well, like I had the dream, I was around like 11 or 12, and my childhood best friend and I started the Backyard Fed, as a lot of Midwestern kids do. And, we had all of our characters, and like that was the big dream was, eventually getting into real rings and going around the country, around the world, doing that stuff. And I'm also a musician, so I was really also into my music and my bands at the time. So that kind of took a little bit of a priority over wrestling. Like I was like, I'm in the middle of Kansas. What are the chances I'm going to get picked up for any big promotion, or be able to get out of nowhere, because Kansas is the middle. And I was around 22, 21 when my childhood friend, who actually did go the distance and like get trained and started wrestling and shows, like, hey man, like you still want to get in a real ring? And I was like, you serious? He's like, yeah. I was like, bet. And so went to training and took my first bump, and ever since then, we're here where we are now. So.
So that was your first day in a pro ring. How was your first day in training?
I'm definitely not going to say easy. Like I played sports my whole life, so like the cardio conditioning wasn't too much of an issue. We also trained in a non-ventilated, like kind of dungeony, like warehouse gym scenario, and so it had like no AC, and during the winter, like no heat. So getting used to that, and then going into the regular rings wasn't too bad. Also did competitive powerlifting, so like body pain for me wasn't too much of an issue. So I mean, he tried to run me through ringers, made me sure that I wanted to wrestle, and thankfully I passed. So.
Right. Well, I was going to ask him. So when you we always like to ask these questions, these different ones we do. Like, did they teach you a lot about the etiquette and the? I'm always amazed by the backstage etiquette. Like, know your role, don't do this, that, or some people they pound it, others like they don't.
No, that was actually a pretty huge thing, because like my trainer's pretty old school, so he definitely put in the shake everybody's hands, like be a helping hand when you're not doing anything, like tear down the ring, put up the ring, like if you can help any of the backstage people out, because like you need to treat them just like you would a regular wrestler. Everybody who sets up the show is just as important as the talent in the show. So that was really drilled in, and something that's nice, because like I've seen other promoters that know my trainer will reach out and be like, hey, I know he's one of your boys. Like, thank you for training him up the right way. Like, you know, and being respectful and whatever.
Okay, so it's important what school you come from, because yeah, it's like anything. Oh, he's from there. We don't want this guy. Yeah.
Yeah, like that kind of goes from promoter to promoter. I know some people who like won't even look at resumes if they see a certain trainer name or school name, but I know some people like they don't really care too much about the trainer as long as you have good consistent matches and you know you're being a good worker. It kind of just depends who you're talking to.
Now I saw the other interview and your guy, when you walked into that school, you wanted to do hardcore deathmatch stuff, right? You didn't tell your trainer that you just like you knew you had to get trained. You were kind of like,
yeah, like that's the one I definitely wanted to do. Like, you know, watching, you know, ECW when I was young, and then kind of like watching my first live death matches. Funny enough, I was thinking about the other day, it was on TNA because they had like the 6-side no rope barbed wire attack door matches and stuff like that with Abyss. And I was like, oh yeah, I was super into that, and I wanted to go towards that way. And then, but obviously, like to be a good wrestler, you have to know how to wrestle, and that includes deathmatch wrestling. So I was like, I was kind of hiding that little part of the dream until I had a lot more reps under my belt to be like, hey. Yeah. This is where I want to go. I know if you trained me, like, do you approve? Is that cool? Like, and he's like, fuck yeah. Like, that's some of my best friends are deathmatch guys. So
right. You know, I'm thinking with all these deathmatch guys, they almost should have that as part of the training. Like if you want like an extra, you want this session, like you want like some people are never going to do deathmatch. You know, but then if you want to do it. Have a guy like you know, somebody Tremont, somebody who's done it for a long time, and be like, now listen here, don't do like that, maybe do like that, or like, you know, be careful with that, and you know what I mean?
Right.
Your knowledge, you're probably doing things differently now than when you did when you first started deathmatches, right?
Yeah. I mean, like I remember when I did my first one, and a lot of people were shocked it was my first one just because of how, you know, fluid everything was. I mean, my first one was Pondo. So, and Pondo was like, you know, afterwards he gave me the big, you know, some big shine and gave me like, you know, credit and stuff like that after the match. But I watched so much of it. Like I can't even tell how many hours, because that's the thing too, is a lot of people I think that want to do it don't sit there and like pick apart the matches like you would for moves or whatever. Like they're like, oh shit, this is all really explosive and really cool to look at, but they're not looking at it like in movement wise, you know, like yeah, because like I was looking at people through tubes and like and hit tubes and like put people through doors or tables or like, you know, and other gimmicks like a scissor board, or like how do you guys do this without actually like murdering each other, you know, like like obviously shit's gonna hurt, but I gotta know how to protect my person as much as I can without too many hospital visits.
Right, because you know deathmatch moves. Look, you're gonna hurt a little bit, but there's it's a level from 1 to 10. You do it really like the ball that like we interviewed Sarah Vox the other day. She had a real bad cut. It was from the tube hitting up, going up in the air, and landing on her.
Oh yeah. So one of my worst injuries is for me just doing a kick out and the referee not being a deathmatch ref and not scooping the ring. Kicked out, rolled over, 8-inch puncture wound right in my back.
Oh, right. Yeah, happened to Die Hard.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I didn't know it till later, but like,
yeah,
you know, it's little shit sometimes. It was fuck you up.
So death matches, you really got to know what you're doing.
Yeah,
absolutely. If we could back up a little, you were talking about hardcore matches, death matches in Impact Wrestling. I think they're the ones that really started, you know, putting it out on mainstream. I remember one of my first times seeing something that crazy was in the Abyss Sabu match at I think it was Turning Point. Yeah, that was wild. That was vicious for sure. Did you see that one like way back? Yeah, way back. Sabu and Abyss. Yeah, TNA Impact. Yeah, they tried.
You had another no barbed wire with Judas Macias, aka like Mills Mertes. That was super good. It had a lot like that was good. And then it was kind of like the Brothers of Destruction style era. It had like the Sinister Minister ended up being the dad of both Abyss and Mills Muertes or Judas Macias, and so like they were fighting to be like superior brother, pretty much kind of thing.
Yeah, they really had some good angles back then. They really tried. You know, they brought a new product to the table.
Yeah, man. Like that was my first ever like indie show, was seeing TNA when they were touring back in like 2007. And I think back on that card, I'm like, bro, there were so many insane names and matches, because there's like I saw like LAX versus the original LAX versus the Dudleys, like Rhino, Christian Cage, Kurt Angle. Like the main event, I usually just rattle off is freaking Samoa Joe and AJ Styles in a tables match. Shit, wild. Like,
and that was like a house show, or was it like one of the tapings?
No, this is a house show.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, dude.
I really liked their. You got, they were so not that many people went to them, well, at least in the Pennsylvania area, and then you got to meet everyone, you got to interact with him, and it was just like a one-on-one interaction with everyone.
Yeah, that's how it was too, man. Like I remember, like that's the first time I met Abyss, and I was maybe like, I don't know, 14. I remember shaking his hand. It's like, I'm gonna be like you someday, man. Freaking get out there and be a monster, and do that stuff. He's like, that's really cool, man. It's like, keep chasing your dream. And while I'm looking up at his fucking 6'8", 320-pound self, like huge human.
Wow. You mentioned your first death match was against Madman Pondo.
Yeah.
A few times later, he put you over. He said, you and Hook were one of the up and coming guys.
They are.
How did that feel?
Surreal, 100%. Yeah, man. I remember it was kind of a funny story with Pondo, because like originally my first death match was going to be the Duke. It was going to be John Wayne Murdoch.
Oh.
And John ended up accidentally getting double booked, and so John couldn't make it out. And they're like, "Hey, man, we're gonna find somebody to replace it." John was like, "Hopefully, we find somebody good." Next thing I know, as I see the freaking flyer with me and Pondo, and I was like, "Holy shit!" That's Pondo. That's the legend. That's the dude. Like
wow.
that's
Yeah. That's definitely a good first death match to have. Good. First time. And any spots that come to mind when you think of that first death match you had?
What was that?
Any spots? Any memorable spots?
Oh yeah, man. So I brought out two specifically. I brought a signature weapon to the match that I call the food chain, and so so volleyball. I covered about 800 thumbtacks, and I have it on the end of a chain, so it looks kind of like a big flail. I bashed straight into Pondo's head. Had about maybe 50, 60, 70 tacks just layered on his head.
Oh, sheesh.
And then the finish, I guess the full finish, which was he was trying to pound 2 Kenzans into my head, got one launched in there, shot me off, did the stop sign spot, bashing that Kenzan way into my head.
Oh.
And then did the center block to the crotch like he does for the win. So.
Now, we hear a lot about these Kenzans, and I mean, you got the gusset plate and the Kenzans, but everybody says the Kenzans are worse.
Yeah.
Because it's
getting it in isn't really like the part that sucks. It's just freaking out about getting it out is kind of more of the problem. Like, thankfully, I don't really use like the huge ones. Like you probably saw when like Jeff Cannonball had that big ass one.
Oh yeah, big square one. Yeah.
Yeah. I use they're a little smaller. They're about like an inch wide, because I can grab those myself and pull them out versus like having to get pliers and having somebody like set me down to get it out. So I pulled the one out of my head by myself out, and it was funny because in the back, like it looked like a freaking body horror flick, because I pulled it out and my skin stretched with it. So it was like 3 inches of skin, and then it finally like popped and like had an audible pop sound, and then just crimson. Like,
well, I was there when they were pulling it out of Kobayashi at TOD years ago.
Oh
right?
yeah.
I don't know if you've seen the video, and the doctor guy was pulling it, and he was just sitting there, and they were like holding it. I mean, and just pulling it, and like you said, it was stretching his head.
Oh yeah, dude.
Stretch a head. There's not much to give there.
Yeah, cause it's crazy, because like people are like, "Oh, how's that go in your skull?" I'm like, it is in your skull. It's like all the way freaking aerated into your skull. So like, it's it's kind of scary to think about, but thankfully my fucking Cro-Magnon head makes it a little easier to take.
Yeah, because that's a lot of little pokes in one little space.
In one little space, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's really good. That's good to have a fat head.
Yeah,
like a lot of meat, like a Abdul the Butcher mushy head.
Oh yeah, the more plus like guys like Tremont who have like the horn, man. If you put it into that, it's all scar tissue.
Yeah. Just put it in the horn. Go to the horn.
Yeah.
It'll be a.
Is there anything you do to prepare yourself for a match like that? Like you're taking a Kenzin or a gusset plate. Is there anything like
I mean, I just have to. It's kind of like channeling the character. I have to not think about me in reality and me as Rhor. Like Rhor's not gonna care. Like he's gonna be like, wow, this pain hurts, but the pain's driving me towards win. So it's just kind of making that switch happen, or I guess in my case, making the volume knob up. I mean, it's cliche and corny sounding, but it's always accurate.
Yeah, these guys are a different breed. They're not like us. They're a different type of guys. You know what I mean? Yeah. No, I respect what you guys do. Art form, definite art form. When you got people watching and you're doing a story, it's an art form. I don't care what anybody says. And I'll even if I don't even boo, say you fucked up to anybody, even like on little shows that aren't, hey, the guy's trying. I can't get in there and do it. You're trying to do something you like, and everybody starts out green, but you got to give a guy a chance. You don't go to ice skating and do double.
Without fall, those double sow cows and shit.
Right.
Like
you do one, and they're like, "Hey, you did a good job." All right.
Yeah, man, and not everybody's perfect. Even like some of the greats, man, fuck up. Like I watched Royal Rumble and fucking that main event. Kevin Owens botched a fucking like pop up second rope moonsault. I'm like, KO could do this with his eyes closed, half asleep, bleeding out if he wanted to, but shit just happens sometimes.
Stuff happens. Yeah, you guys can get respect from us. Yeah.
No, absolutely.
I was going to tell them, but gusset plate. I saw you've taken gusset plates too.
A lot of gussets. I'm taking a lot of gussets. Gusset 2x4s, fucking tons of gussets.
Now, see, as fans, when I see that gusset come out, I'm like, all right, it can get put on and fall off right away. It can get on and like hang, or it can get on there and be like, it's in there.
It's stuck. Yeah. Yeah, they could be on there for a hot minute, man. It's funny because it even depends on like, it's like, it'll stick to your head really good because the skin's thin. I'm like, it'll stick anywhere if you put it in hard enough.
Yeah. I think I counted 104. It's like 12 by 12 with a little hole in the middle. It's like 130 or 40 spikes.
Oh, those are just the little ones too. You ever seen the fucking like textbook size ones? Like the railroad gussets?
Oh no,
those are huge, dude. Like Raven Hamlet comes out with those a lot of the time. It looks like he's holding the Bible with a fucking massive gusset. Like,
I didn't even know those existed. See,
just
when you think they can't get any crazier, something like that comes out.
Dude, we got to get inventive, man. That's why I come out with machetes. Like, nobody else is come out and hit somebody with a camel clutch with a fucking machete, or the cross machete. Like.
Now, is there any weapon? Well, first, what's your favorite weapon to use in a match?
That's hard. I mean, when it comes to kind of like your normal matches, like I like tubes, I like pains, just because you can get really creative with those a lot. Yeah. I also really like weed whackers. I feel like I'm one of the only people who really like says that out loud. But I don't know, man. Just the pop from the crowd when like you hear that first rev up with the weed whacker. It makes me happy. Like,
definitely shot value for when the weed whacker comes out.
100%. What the fuck's that gonna do? Yeah, life shit.
Is there any weapon you would not take?
Yeah, I don't do toothpicks.
Oh yeah, they're silly.
Yeah, no toothpicks. No, like I'll do the head skewers, but I won't do like skewer boards.
Okay.
Fire?
I'll do fire. I've done fire. Yeah. That's really about it. Like anything that can or pencil boards, obviously I won't do.
Yeah, we were there for that.
probably, unless I could really figure out a way to make it not suck a ton of ass, probably wouldn't do razor wire. Also,
Yeah, that's hard. That's hard.
Well, sometimes it looks bad, but you could probably do it and not. You know what I mean? I don't know.
There's always a way to make it not suck a ton. Like, I mean, I've taken like razor boards and knife boards, and they fuck you up, but like I was fine. Thankfully, I have a fucking like meaty back, so that helps. Like,
we've seen a lot of people. I've been there when Gage got caught on fire in Delaware, and that is. And I've seen other guys get on fire, Lobo, different guys, and they get them out, but it's rough. I don't know,
dude, it's scary, especially when it's your friends and shit. Like what was it? I was at Slave to the Death match in Colorado last year, or this past one, and one of the matches was fucking Satu Jin versus Aiden Blackheart, and it was a flaming doors match. And dude, but like Aiden's a good friend of mine, and he was on fire for way too fucking long. And I was like, dude, your ass is on fire for like 45 seconds. I was like, that's too fucking long.
Wow,
that's way too long. Yeah.
1 second is too.
Yeah, 1 second is too long. Yeah, absolutely. So did you grow up watching Combat Zone Wrestling?
Yeah, man, that was my first like step into real like full on death matches, not like TNA or ECW. Like, I mean, like Taipei and stuff like that was definitely like a real death match. But CZW was what got it going. You know, my first like I didn't get to watch the first full match, but I watched the clip. It was Mondo and Wife Beater in that 200 light tube fucking death match where he takes like Mondo takes that weed whacker, like this brutal weed whacker shots. Like that's probably the first clip I saw was that. I was like, this is fucking cool. I need to see more.
Wow. I was at that match actually.
Hell yeah. That's cool.
Believe it or not, where we live, it's Smyrna, Delaware. And I grew up in Dover. That's where they had the first couple of TODs. Then they moved it to Smyrna, then DJ's Farm. It's all within a 20-mile radius of us, right? Right where we're at.
You're right in the freaking epicenter. That's what's up. Like
Sexy Eddie squirting incident. That was like right there down the like a mile from where I live.
He still talks about that shit. he still talks about that fucking like that gusher he had, you know, hitting that artery.
Well, I'm gonna tell him about the hospital thing. I was at that show and they took him to the hospital. No, I didn't take him. JD and some other. But he was bleeding bad, and he wanted to keep going on, just like you guys. You just want to keep going on. And it must be hard to leave that venue when it's surrounded by like 1,000 people, and you just went nuts. And they say you got to leave. Like, what? I mean, I can only imagine what that would feel like. You can imagine. So
I've had to do that once, and it sucks. Like,
right. It sucks.
Yeah.
And this is a huge thing. So they come down again. So then Necro, at the end of the match, Necro and White Beater went off that truck, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a crazy clip where Necro's trying to get up the truck, and he can't get up it. The front of the hood, it had a big hood on it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go and watch the thing, I grabbed his belt buckle and pushed him up it.
What a fucking homie. That's what's up. Like,
what?
So what a fucking homie. That's what's up. Like, a couple of boys.
Yeah. So they went off it, and he got cut in the back, and he had to go to. He didn't like going to the hospital, but they looked at it and said, "You got to go to the hospital." So I drove him to the hospital. I'd known him from way back, so I drove him to the hospital, and Eddie was in the hospital. It was like, you know, before COVID, had these little cubicles, and they were just separated by little curtains, right? And
Yeah.
Eddie was in a curtain right there, and we're like, and they're like, "What happened to him?" I'm like, "Wrestling." Oh, another one coming in, like, you know, that usual. And they've given Eddie, he went in there in his gear, his bikini gear, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, he said, I told them that I was a stripper and I was doing a bachelorette party and I was dancing on a glass table and fell through it and got cut.
That's a good fucking, that's a solid tale. Like,
so now he's there, and you ever seen Eddie's gimmick thing he's got on?
Yeah, he just wears the trunks.
The nurses loved it because this 20 years ago. They were like, you know, like there's a stripper guy, who? And they're like, by the time they were leaving, they gave him a doctor's outfit, like a full orderly schmuck. No, really, and a full orderly schmuck, and they're hugging him. Bye, Eddie. You be careful. He's like, he had charmed all the nurses. Because you got this well-built guy laid back with his in his strip, and then they know he's a stripper, so they're like, "Oh, stripper!" I mean, can you imagine? Like, it's like a girl stripper. There's a female stripper back there. Like, really? Looks like the doctor might want to check it out. Yeah. So they left. The guy Manny, the promoter that brought him down, he said, "Man, I'm glad I got that international health insurance for this guy." And then they took care of Necro, but I'll never forget that. I'll never forget it. And then later when I met him again, that's the story that I said, "What'd you tell them?" He goes, "I was stripping at a bachelorette party and I fell off the table and got cut up."
I had a similar thing happen to me when I was in Carnage Cup, because like I had to go to the hospital after the finals of Carnage Cup because I had see if I can show it.
Yeah.
This fucking big dude cut down to my muscle in my forearm, so I was like a couple centimeters away from not using my forearm.
Oh,
I took a big old fucking roof bump. But I went to the hospital and I was like sitting there and I cut an artery in my elbow. Also, my arm was fucking shredded, so I was bleeding out in this fucking bucket, and like my whole body's like glistening with like glass and completely head to toe red. And I'm sitting there talking to the chick who's like trying to sew me up, and like I keep noticing there's like more and more like female nurses keep coming in. Like first it's one, and it's three. There's like 5 other ones in there. 2 of them are actually doing stuff. Like 3 of them are just like sitting around kind of talking to me, like looking at me. And one of the chicks stops, like she's talking to me, lets me know about what happened. She's like, did I ever tell you look like Jason Momoa? I was like, she's into this. Like, I was like, I don't. I was like, I look like his pale chubby cousin, but sure. It was like every dude with long hair and a beard looks like Jason Momoa, fucking Aquaman. And I was like, oh no, like all these fucking chicks are in here to look at like this, the muscular, long-haired Viking-looking motherfucker. I was like, that's fine. I was like, take it out. Like, it's not like I'm bleeding out in this fucking hospital or anything, folks. Like, it's fine.
Well, that's what happened to Eddie, but it was a little tamer, that was fun. Well, what did you tell him happened to you?
Oh, I told him I was like, I'm a professional wrestler, because apparently they had somebody earlier in the week, because I forgot on day 1, some dude he kind of half-assed going over the top rope and fucking snapped his shin.
Oh.
And so they remembered him from earlier in the week. I was like, are you one of those wrestler guys? So they called me like right fucking at the beginning. I was like, yeah. I was like, I'm a wrestler and this happened. So.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you got to tell them where they'll call the police. They'll think it was an attack. No, really, they will, because they're like.
Oh, no. I had fucking probably 20 doctors when I was in the ER in Vegas for that puncture wound. Like, me reiterate the story. And after like the 3rd one, I was like, oh, y'all think I killed somebody. I was like, nah, like.
Oh yeah.
I am on 0 drugs. I haven't even drank today. Like, I am just have a fucking 8-inch puncture wound in my back from a very like brutal sport that I do. Don't worry about it. Sew me up. Let me drive home.
Well, maybe you could show your phone. See, this is me. This is what I do. I did it all over the place.
That's what I did at freaking Carnage Cup, and they're like, oh, like I showed them the bump that did fucking shredded my arm, and they're like, holy shit. I'm like, yeah, that was dumb, but it was cool though. Like,
we're talking, it is crazy, and whatever happened, but you're on the map, and we're talking about it. We're like, you did something that we're talking about, and you're like, oh, it's in art, it's in my mind. I just can't believe that a safety OSHA type of guy like Kevin Brennan would allow something like that.
Oh, 100%. What a safe human.
I can't believe he would like that. I mean, he must have told you guys, oh, no, I don't think so, huh? No, he didn't. No,
man. Just to put it this way, like when I looked down on that roof, I originally saw maybe like a log cabin and maybe like 4 or 5 bundles, like 4 bundles. When I got up on the shoulders of freaking Chu Martinez and looked down again, there was about 100+ tubes on those tables. And I was like, cool, we're going.
He likes to get he'll help out with weapons for sure.
Oh yeah, that's what he was doing. I saw boxes in the side of the freaking ring, and you see it's like him and like 2 other like of his goons just fucking throwing in tubes, getting him off the fucking tables. I was like, this is already like a 30-foot drop. Let's just make it worse. It's fine. Like,
it's I think it's a rite of passage, Carnage Cup. No matter what anybody, I've been on many Carnage Cups. I've been to many of them, but it's almost like you didn't do Carnage Cup. Well, you got to do Carnage. It's kind of like, you know what I mean? It's like getting beat in a gang almost.
Right. That's kind of the reason why like I did it in the first place. Is like I was a big fan of watching Carnage Cup. Like I liked watching all of it. Like it had really crazy stips.
Yeah.
Obviously, like especially the year I was in, Britain was in a lot of hot water for like the Impaler stuff, and like him not doing a very good job of PR by keeping his mouth shut about certain things. I'm like, you could do so much. Like you could keep Deep South a thing, man, if you just like change your image a bunch to just wrestling and not your politics, and like kept it brutal and just shush. Well, like one of my favorite PR fucking like mentions from Hoodfoot Mo Atlas. Like sometimes the best thing to do is just shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And like that'll get you so many places, man. If you just like keep quiet sometimes and let shit just be. And I think Carnage Cup could have kept being a big thing if like there wasn't so much other shit layered on top of it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I like Carnage Cup. I've seen them all. Been to a lot of
Yeah,
them.
man.
It puts people on a map, and it's like the rite of passage. You got to do Carnage Cup, and I'd say Carnage Cup and
TOD.
TOD.
That's my top big two like tournaments like in the world is TOD, and this is kind of a weird one, but TOH in Australia is another one for me.
Oh, okay.
Now I believe you're going to do Tournament of Death this past year, correct?
Yeah, I was asked to, but I had a wedding that I was actually like part of on the day. So I was like, if I was just going to this wedding, like I would say no. But since I'm like part of the wedding like party, I've said yes to this like a year in advance. I gotta go. Like, sorry.
See, if you would have been my best man and my best friend, I would have told you to go to Carnage Cup. I'll be turning him to death because I know what that would have meant to him, and I'm like, you know what I mean? I would have been like, you're going. Well, no, I don't want to. You are going. You're
it's okay.
Wedding. You're not coming in. Security will not lead you in the wedding. Go to.
It's all right. I my time will come for it for sure. I feel it.
It ain't going nowhere. Carnage. I mean, TOD is going to get but I know. I know you had to go. You had to go to the wedding. There's nothing you could do. I know.
No, man, that's one of the big two. Like that one in Tournament of Hate, man. That's the boys. So
growing up, what was your favorite Tournament of Death?
Probably 13. I like 13 a lot. Like the whole roster and the lineup for it was just like every single match was fucking hitters. So I also like 16. Like so. But I think 13 is probably the one.
13. That's the one with CZW versus BJW, correct?
Yep. So it's got Kasai and Kobayashi.
Yeah, everyone.
And Takeda, even though he got first rounded.
Yeah, everyone was on that one. Yeah, that was a solid.
Mm-hmm.
I like the first one because it was involved the IWA CZW angle.
Yeah.
Oh, the second one?
That's the second one, yeah. With Nick Mondo and Broughton in the final.
Oh, yeah, that is two. Yeah.
I'm all mixed up. Well, maybe that was my favorite. That either the first one because it's the first one, and then the second one because of the angle, and then they all just. I mean, like I like them all. I mean, they're all good.
Oh yeah, there's not really a weak one of the bunch, man. Like it's all good. Like.
Oh yeah, they're all good. They're all good. Yeah, they're all good. Well, yeah. Hopefully we'll see you at one. That'd be good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's always kind of been my thing for death matches. Like titles and stuff like that are great and obviously great accolades, but like I kind of wanted it to go to the same vein of like Matt Tremont, where it's like I want tournament wins. I want to be that deathmatch tournament guy because like in our flavor of the sport, like that's the the big badges of honor is like you've gone 3 rounds, 2 rounds, or multiple rounds in whatever tournament, and you fucking showed up best. You're the dude,
I can see that. Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, they're more. The title is different. This is like an event that, it's like a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and like it's even crazier now. Like I've been in, 12, I think. I've won 2, so I'm getting there. I got 5 more to go to try with Tremont. So
Yeah, well, we interviewed, who did we interview? The one dude that was, Anthrax the other day. Anthrax, you know him from H2O?
Oh yeah, yeah.
He wants to he's happy to get to the finals of one. I mean, that's his goal, to get to, just to be in the final. And I'm like, and I really started learning how important it is for you guys that you just
That's a huge deal.
It is a huge deal. See, I'm not looking at it. I'm looking at it differently, but I'm like, really? Man, I just want to be in the finals of one, just to be in the finals. I'm like, oh wow, all right.
Right. And like that was my goal when I first started. I was like, I want to get to the finals just to show a point, which in my first deathmatch tournament, I did end up being in the finals.
Yeah.
So with Dale Patrick's, Akira, and Mickey Knuckles. So I was there with the Sharks, man. So
So we talked about Combat Zone Wrestling's Tournament of Death. Now I have to ask, everyone's talking about it. The whole deathmatch community is talking about it. Ultra Violent Underground.
Oh, no.
You're a participant. What can we expect? What can we see from you? And what do you know about it?
Definitely bringing my Midwest carnivorous brand of ultra violence to Jersey. Biting people, throwing people, suplexing people through anything and anybody. So that's all we're bringing to the underground. And what I know about it, man, like I'm going in a little blind, but I'm going in with fists head high, to show exactly to the underground what I'm going to bring and where I'm going to set myself out on the totem pole. So I'm just to make a point, I'm shooting for the top of the pole. So
that's great. What do you think about Sandic being affiliated with the company?
That's also kind of a surreal thing, kind of like with Pondo or Necro. Like Zandig and Nate Hatred were like my CZW dudes. Like,
wow.
If you can't tell by like, if you ever watch my shit, you can kind of see it like that influence on me. And even just look wise, like, trying to be muscular, got longer hair, like, shit ends up tracking. So like I'm pumped as fuck about Zandig being a part of it. So
do you get so you when you meet guy like Neck? See, we've known these guys for years, being in the area, so it's like, but when you see a guy like a legend like a Necro or like Zandig and people like that, Pondo, and you see him for the first time, do you get a different feeling from if the other things you do? Like, do you get?
Yeah, dude. Like, I'll even use the term starstruck. Like, I won't even be like.
All right.
No, I mean, hell, it is though, man. Because like like meeting Pondo, big fucking deal. Like meeting Necro, especially because the same times I've met both of them, I ended up fighting them in the same day, which is wild. Like, like when I met Tremont, like I worked Bloodstorm Pro in Jersey, and it was at the H2O like center. So I met Tremont. I was like, man. Like he knew me before I met him, and like that's like to my brain and especially like my child brain, like that's fucking wild that Matt Tremont knows my name before I've met him. Like, yeah. Like even with Zandig, like when Zandig was making those posts about me, like oh, who's this Remington guy? I'm like, that's fucking like half of me is like, that's fucking wild. I was like, that dude knows my name. Like that's crazy as shit. Like, so it's cool. Like. Thinking about, especially now, like, people I consider my friends even too. It's like, oh yeah, like I'm like, I've talked to these dudes and hung out with them and had fucking beers and lunch and fucking just shooting the shit with people like I used to watch when I was younger. It's wild.
Especially that match with Necro. You and him went at it.
Yeah, dude. You made me fucking earn that shit. If I was gonna beat him, he's gonna like, you gotta fucking make sure you can beat me, kid, and just fucking through those giant granite fucking lunchbox fists in my fucking grill.
Yeah. What do you would you go to a Chinese restaurant and order French fries?
No.
You wouldn't do that, would you?
No, like maybe at a buffet if I'm just really fucking craving potatoes, but like I ain't gonna order them.
Wait, you know what we're talking about there?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
What did you think of that when you seen it?
It's your brother metal guy there coming in.
What did you think of that? The whole Schlack Zandig gang.
It was wild. That's one of my favorite matches when I fought Schlack, though. I felt like fighting myself a bit.
I don't see the resemblance or the.
What do you mean?
That's the ICW no holds barred match you had with Schlack.
Yeah, we were fighting in Chicago. Funny. Even one of the funnier things about that is I had laryngitis that weekend, so my voice was like super fucking graveled. And so the whole time I was talking to Schlack, like before or like after the match, or fucking like people were hearing me and him talk, and he has that fucking super gravelly ass voice, and so I sounded just like he does because my voice is all fucked up. So everybody's sitting there like, it sounds like there's fucking two of them. This is weird shit. Like,
That's great.
yeah, that's funny.
That's great. So you wrestled for the Clowns back in 2021. How was your experience?
Yeah, I wrestled. That was my first and only steel cage match. Was at JCW.
That's right. How was your experience working for him?
Oh, it was awesome, man. Like they're fucking super super nice dudes. Like I thought it was crazy that the green room was in their the old Lotus Pod. So like where they recorded a lot of their best albums and shit like that, just chilling in the back, waiting to go bleed for a bunch of sick juggalos in Michigan. Man, it was rad.
How were the fans of that show?
Really into it. Like I was kind of nervous because like I'm not like your kind of regular like juggalo wrestler. Like I don't really rep the Hatchet Man. Like I like ICP. Don't get me wrong. I chug a lot of Fago, but like I didn't think they were gonna dig me enough. But thankfully, me just bringing the brutality made them like me. They're like, he's violent as fuck. We like him. Like so they were really receptive.
Good. Now they're known to be like a little rough sometimes. The Juggalo fans, they throw stuff.
Yeah. I was waiting for some people to maybe start throwing shit, especially because like I was wrestling Peter B Beautiful, and I was waiting for some shit to possibly get thrown at him. So I was like, I'll duck and see a bottle.
That's great. Now deathmatch fans are unique sometimes. What's the weirdest thing they had you sign? Any deathmatch fan ever come up to you and have you sign something crazy? We always ask the guys.
I've had, I don't know, it's kind of like a multiple answer question. Like I've signed tubes that I've bitten because I eat glass. I eat the tubes and shit in matches. Like they're like, oh, you fucking chopped this, sign this. I've had people come up to me with like full canvases, like art canvases. They're like, hey, put your face on this. And I'm like, okay. And I like smear my fucking bloody face on the mask. They're like, oh, sign this. So I'm like, this art, like I did that once and it almost looked like my face one time. I'm like, that's pretty rad. I might want to keep that.
They sell those. They sell those.
They do sell those. Yeah. And then there was probably one of the funniest ones though is I started a match and it was like, you remember those big like Culligan jugs, the big water jugs on sticks?
Oh yeah.
So I had one of those and it was completely covered in gussets. And I freaking went and swinging this dude and he ducked and I hit the post and the reverberation from the post into that made it slip out of my hands and it freaking shot, like bounced off the post and hit a dude in the crowd. So like one of the gussets fucking got this dude's shirt. And I was like, oh fuck, dude, that dude's gonna be pissed. And as I looked at him, he's like this big fucking, looks like an ex-con, like just tatted up, fucking big muscular motherfucker. I'm like, damn it, I don't want to fight nobody tonight. Like besides in the ring is like, but whatever. But he caught me after the show and he had the jug still in his hand. And I was like, shit, he's gonna be mad. He's like, bro, can you sign this? And I was like, you got cut by a gusset just happenstance in the crowd and you're into it? Fuck yeah. So I signed the jug and I signed his shirt and I got torn. And he's like, hell yeah, man, thanks for making a memorable night. I was like, sick.
It's such a subculture. It's such a like. I saw your other interview. You said your mom came to some shows, or one show, and then you don't like to. I guess she doesn't like the deathmatch stuff too much, or
yeah, she doesn't like seeing her baby boy get all fucking cut up, like.
Right. But have you ever brought a friend to it, or a girlfriend, or somebody that didn't know anything about it, just to blow their mind and be like,
oh yeah, like I have two longtime friends. Like I call them my brothers. I've known them forever. But like my second oldest brother, I brought him to a show, and he was one of those dudes. Like when he was younger, he didn't really understand why people liked wrestling. He was like, it's scripted, blah blah. Why are you into this thing? So I brought him. He moved up to North Carolina, so I brought him to the show where I fought Raven Havoc in the what was it called? It was the as above, so below death match. So it's like both sides of the ring are open, massive panes and barbed wire contraptions on the outside. The other two sides are freaking no rope barbed wires, tons of glass, bare boards, and like he sat through that whole card, saw me and Raven fucking tear it up, and he was like, "Dude, this is so much better than like regular TV wrestling." I'm like, "Yeah." So like he just became a fan, man. I showed him some other stuff I know I thought he'd dig. Like I showed him like Lucha Underground and some more flashy shit. And he's like, now he's just a big wrestling fan, which is pretty rad. Deathmatch and Lucha got him. Like,
yeah, that's funny. It's always interesting when the deathmatch guys or even the regular wrestlers tell friends and family what they do, and they're just blown away. I mean, if you blow us away, you know they're blowing them away. They don't know nothing about it. They have no clue about it.
Right. That's one thing it's kind of funny is like I kind of forget in reality, like when I just name stuff off, I'm like, oh, like I was at the gym and I had my forehead was all fucking pretty fresh from a fucking hacksaw I took to the forehead from Aiden Blackheart. And I ended up bleeding at the gym. It just pressure in my head built up and it started like bleeding a bit. And I was like, oh shit. So I started like sopping my blood up with my beanie. And everybody's like, are you okay, man? I was like, yeah, it's fine. It's just blood. It's no big deal. He's like, that's blood from your face, though. It's like random passerby. I was like, yeah, it's no big deal. And I was like, oh, right. Like, I'm used to bleeding from my body profusely all the time. I forget that, like, nobody else is probably used to this. It's not normal to do that.
Right. Right. See, I would see him and say, you're a deathmatch worker. If I never knew you.
That was the goal, man. Like, I feel like I'm also one of those dudes who never pulls the whole, it's like, I'm not a deathmatch wrestler. I'm a wrestler that does deathmatch. I was like, I'm kind of proud of the title, man. I like being a deathmatch wrestler. So I'm going to say, yeah, like I definitely am a wrestler and I can do regular matches and I can work strong style and like all Japan style like I do like in my death matches. But I prefer being a deathmatch specialist than being a deathmatch wrestler.
So my next question, I mean, you pretty much answered it. When a promoter hits you up, would you prefer doing a death match or just a regular match?
I mean, like I sort of answered, but like it really does depend. Like if we're doing a story angle or if we're doing a one-off thing, like if we're doing a story angle, we can start it off doing regular matches or more traditional matches and build up stipulations until we get to a death match if we want to, or even just get to like a blow-off hardcore match. Or if you want to just bring me in for like a one-time thing and you want me to show what I do best or what people know me for, yeah, bring out the pains, bring out the thumbtacks, bring out whatever you want. We can go balls to the wall with it. So
right, like a special event on the show.
Yeah, it's your one or two death matches you have on the card versus 10 matches of straight tube throwing.
You worked IWA Mid South. It's a mystery too against Otis Skogar.
Yes, it did.
How'd you feel? When you got contacted to work for IWA Mid South.
At first, because that was my second time working for Mid South.
Oh.
At first, I wasn't gonna go because I felt kind of insulted the first time I went because I worked Prince of the Deathmatch at the Last King, and I thought the booking was weird. They put a lot of like brand new green kids who were like that was their first death match and pushed them through the tournament, and like I kind of like afterwards I was like, if you put everybody's backs, like everybody back to back, like looking at their backs in the line, and you should say who should win this tournament, like I'm the most scarred up dude. Like I put in a lot of work, and that's no knock on Carver who did win because Carver's a fucking super good worker. Like he's a really good character worker, and he can fucking throw down in a death match. I fought him multiple times. He's fucking awesome. Like he was the one who first rounded me, ended up fucking winning the whole tournament. I didn't realize kind of halfway. I'm like, oh yeah, there's no crowd.
What do you mean no crowd?
I was like, death matching for no crowd. I have to put my brain in a completely different mind state to like.
No crowd. Oh, I thought you meant it was like nobody, like 3 people showed up or something.
No, it was completely crowdless. Like because it was just in their like training facility area, and there was no crowd. So it was just like me, Otis, the boys in the back, and fucking the commentators, and that was it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
people hard to do that. See, the original underground was like that, ultraviolet underground. It was done in the back of the arena, and it's but now, because it's weird. You feed. They say you feed off the fans, right?
Right, and then I've never been a wrestler, especially because the way I was trained to wrestle for myself. I always want to feed off and fluctuate and improv with the crowd. So if it's like, sitting there, I'm like, there's nothing to fucking read. Like I just got to keep doing what I'm doing and go through it, So
that's tough. Yeah,
definitely different. Yeah, definitely.
It's a weird mindscape for sure.
You also worked No Peace Underground. How was your experience with them?
Fucking love No Peace. No Peace is a blast, dude. I love no ring death matches. It's definitely one of my favorite, like, I wouldn't say the stipulation, variations on the match. Because like I just love that barroom brawl feel. Like, the crowd. I think the crowd believes it even more than like we already do. I mean, we're already bleeding a ton already, but like with the ring, like everybody's like, oh, like people who don't know are like, oh, it's trampoline, it's soft, whatever. I was like, oh man, that dude just got suplexed onto, light tubes and broken glass on concrete. You can't
fake that.
I can't fake concrete, buddy. Like I've taken concrete bumps, like, and I freak out a lot of green kids back at home. I was like, yeah, make sure you bump as hard as possible, as flat as possible. So if you take a concrete bump in a match, you'll be good.
Wow. Yeah. Too bad. Well, they had a big tournament this weekend in H2O. No ring.
King of No Ring. Yeah, my friend Stretch won that shit, and I was super proud of him.
Yeah. He would have been good for that.
Yeah,
Too bad. Yeah. Sure. Well, I mean, did you wrestle somewhere else this weekend, or?
Not this past weekend. I actually thankfully had a weekend off. I needed to get some shit done around. So I was like, I get the rest. Like I don't get to sleep much anyway because of my job, like my shoot and traveling and trying to squeeze in everything else throughout the week because I got gym and food and my other fucking hobbies and shit. So like,
I was gonna ask you about that. So now when I checked out your Instagram and man, this guy's strong. Oh, yeah. He can lift like 600-700 pounds.
I try to be strong.
No, I mean you're a power lifter. I mean, I don't know how much you're doing now. I mean, but I saw in competition. I saw you in some competitions, like 620 pounds, 500 pounds lifting. I mean,
yeah, my best deadlift is 640. My best squats 645. I never got my best bench in comp, but I bench about 435. So.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So you, when did you get into that? Have you been doing that your whole life, lifting like that, or?
Yeah. Like my mom actually is the one who trained me. She was a bodybuilder. She powerlifted first and then went to bodybuilding. But like I was around like 12 or 13. And I was like, hey, mom, I want to go lift. And I'm like, I couldn't go to the gym and like be by myself first off because you have to be like 16. To be by yourself. I was like, hey, mom's like, you're cool with training me at the gym. She's like, hell yeah. So it took me, started going 3 days a week, doing 3-hour sessions, 3 days a week. And then, how old am I now? 16 years later, I'm helping her change her form and change her training out, because I've done it for so long.
Yeah, that's something, man. And that you have to eat a certain, I mean, because you were doing heavy competition lifting. What goes into that? Diet and like what you eat massive amounts of like all the protein and all that kind of stuff, or do you have to
I usually eat about 300 grams of protein per day now. Back then I wasn't super like paying attention to my diet because it was more like eat a fuck ton so you can like flood your body with nutrients because you were destroying your body because you're like you're not really supposed to have like 600 plus pounds on your back and then sit down and get up with it. So it's like I have to flood my body with nutrients to make sure it recovers. So like I was heavier back then. I was fatter back then. So like my ring shape wasn't as good because I was kind of a chonk. But like I definitely dialed in kind of in the more of the bodybuilder stuff now. Like I track my shit and
yeah.
I eat a lot, like you know, with my partner and freaking I'm getting him to like eat like I do. And he's like, oh my God, it's like I have to eat like 7 times a day. I'm like, yeah. I was like,
Well, what would be a breakfast for you?
usually I do like 300 grams of non-fat Greek yogurt, like half a tub of strawberries. It's gonna sound gross because the combination's weird, but like 2 or 3 packs of tuna and like a protein bar. Yeah, tuna's cheap, bro. Tuna's like $1.10 a pack, so that's got 17, usually 15 to 17 grams of protein per pack. So
that would be your breakfast.
Yeah.
And then you eat 6 more meals a day.
Yeah, I usually wait about another like 2-3 hours to probably kill another like either one of the family size bags of tuna or 4 or 5 packs of tuna. Then I'll have lunch and I'll have like another snack. Then I'll have like either first dinner or dinner, and then have like before bed snack, which usually like another cottage cheese or yogurt because it's slow digesting. So it's like that protein synthesis can do its thing overnight. I have a college degree in this shit, so like that's why it's like I have this word terminology and shit.
Okay, you mean what about meat? Do you eat like red meat or chicken or?
Yeah, I eat a lot of chicken. I eat a lot of steak. If I can't make my own food, I go to fucking Chipotle a lot, so I get like steak bowls. But yeah, chicken, steak. Well, I eat a fuck ton of fish. I've realized I kind of have like a bear diet because I eat a lot of berries and melon and fish. So
Wow. Now, if you go to a seafood buffet, what do? Just go nuts?
Oh, bro, I like going to get sushi. So like I'll get sushi and sashimi, and I'll kill like 5, 6, 7 rolls. Or if I get like sashimi, I'll try and get like a plate for the table, like one of the big ones with like 50, 60 pieces, and I'll probably eat 3/4 of it, you know?
Wow. Sir, you'll have to pay for anything after the 7th plate.
It's not easy, man. I'll eat a lot if you let me.
Well, you know that. Then you need to go to that Peking buffet. It's $13.99, and it's in Central.
That's a
New
deal.
Jersey.
That's a deal.
They had all you can eat sushi.
Oh, I'm down for that. Then. I will try any buffet that has sushi. Sometimes I'm always mad though when they don't have actual like fish in their sushi. It's like that fucking artificial crab shit, and I'm like, this is bad.
Oh, I'm not sure. The sushi's good.
I don't know if they had that.
The sushi and the fries are good in there.
I've never had sushi.
Hell yeah.
Is it hard to keep up with your diet with all the traveling with the wrestling and the band?
Yeah, that's probably the only time like I kind of really ever break from dieting is when traveling. It's like I'll try, like because usually I don't have my food scales, I don't have like all that shit at home, so I can weigh stuff out and have exactly what I need. So on the road, like I have to run through, general ideas of macros of food in my head to be like, okay, I probably am gonna fucking go over my fats today, but as long as I get my protein, who gives a fuck? Like I'll get those in for like 2 or 3 days. I'll kill fucking like McDoubles are one thing I eat a lot on the road from McDonald's because from a fast food standpoint, like they're one of the best and cheapest options like to do. So
okay, we got to ask a standard question. Wawa.
Yes.
Okay.
I like Wawa. Now every time I go to the East Coast, man, I try to stop at Wawa and get like they have those like the a la carte little spots, and I like getting the rice bowls or fucking the subs and shit from Wawa.
Yeah, you point it down so you know exactly what you're getting. So you could
Yeah. That's why I like that shit.
They don't have that where you live in Cincinnati?
No, I think we're getting one here soon. I think we're getting a Wawa and a Sheetz, which like if we get a Sheetz, I'll be happy as fuck about that. So
every wrestler we talked to Big Joe, we did Big Joe, and he loves Wawa. He's like Wawa, he loves it. And a lot of guys love Wawa. I mean,
Wawa's great, dude. I mean, I feel bad for a lot of the dudes though who like didn't grow up around where I grew up because they haven't experienced Buc-ee's. So
I never had.
I don't know what's Buc-ee's.
y'all know about Buc-ee's, bro? That's like Buc-ee's is think of a gas station. Yes, think of a gas station, but it's the size of Walmart.
Oh, what?
Like not like a small neighborhood Walmart, like a super center. It's got so many gas station pumps that it doubles up on the numbers eventually. and they have everything in there, man. They have like their whole like clothing line wrapped around their mascot. They have like the huge make your own fudge counter, probably like 30 different varieties of jerky. They got brisket tacos. They got everything in there. So like every time I'm in Texas, Texas has got the most of them. Every time I'm in Texas, always stop at Buc-ee's. I think they just put one out in, I want to say Kentucky. I think that's the closest one to me. So every time I'm going to like North Carolina or like heading that direction east, I always stop at that Buc-ee's to be like, cool, I'm gonna load up on fudge and brisket tacos and be good. Like,
Oh, okay. So you go off your tuna diet when you're on the road, like just to.
yeah, I'll splurge and take a little like desserts here and there because like if I'm going to somewhere I don't go often, like I'll snag a treat, you know, and hang on to that. It's like I also work at a brewery like as my shoot gig, so like I can't sit around and drink all the freaking free beer I have because then I would get beer gut, and like I don't like being that fucking bloated. So
No.
I'll have like a few beers here and there throughout the week, but I have to make sure it adds into my regular diet and macros and stuff.
Oh, okay. I was gonna ask him about. We got what about the Waffle House?
Oh yes, of course. How can you be a wrestler and not dig Waffle House?
I know. Well, I know. Well, who didn't like it? Big Joe did
Big
not
Joe
like
did
waffles. He
not
did not
like
like
it,
waffles. He said he didn't like waffles.
Did you ask him about White Castle?
Yeah. Yeah, we did.
I didn't know. He liked Wawa and what was the other one?
He liked
Cracker Barrel.
Cracker Barrel. Yep.
But he didn't
I
like.
like Cracker Barrel too. That's usually my preferred spot a lot of the time. I like Cracker Barrel.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
like obviously late night after shows, Waffle House will be there for you.
Yeah, the Waffle House. The Waffle House. I get the.
Denny's is good. Denny's.
I don't like Denny's.
I don't like Denny's.
No,
I pick it up from Denny's.
Waffle
I
House.
usually try to go to local spots, but like if there's nothing open, Waffle House is there for you.
So the Waffle House. What else? What else we got up here on the East Coast?
Sheets. He brought up
Sheets,
Sheets. Sheets is a good one.
Yeah, and then
Y'all don't got Whataburger either.
I've heard of burger, but I've never been there.
Yeah, Whataburger, like I think probably the closest one to be now because like, we just got one in Kansas, but like they're all over Oklahoma and Texas, and I fucking love Whataburger. So every time I wrestle like in either of those states, I'd be like, cool. Like first thing after the show, I'm like, we're going to Whataburger, so I can kill a quadruple stack burger because I haven't eaten all day, so I get my shit in.
I haven't had a hamburger in a while, but now tomorrow I got to get a hamburger. We're gonna get a hamburger. I try to diet eat. I try to eat like egg white breakfast, turkey, sausage. The
Turkey, I
bread.
eat a lot of that too.
Huh?
That's like you were talking about meats. Like, oh yeah, I do eat a lot of turkey too. Like
Turkey. Oh, I got one over here. Scrapple. Have you ever
you say
heard of
Scrabble?
Scrapple?
Scrapple.
It's called
I don't know.
Rappa. No, none of these guys know it. It's popular here. It's like a mystery loaf meat, but it's good. And it's a name brand. You get the Rappa Scrapple. They got turkey.
Okay.
They got turkey, bacon, beef. It's delicious. You cook it, and you can make a biscuit. You put it in a biscuit. Scrapple.
Scrapple. Okay, I'll try that.
The healthiest because it's got the lowest fat, and it still tastes good. Because I'm into turkey.
I mean, it's probably very different, but it kind of sounds like Spam. Like
Yeah, a litlittle bit, but yeah, kind of like Spam, but it's I think Scrapple's better. Well, when you're up here,
Did you ever have Spam cooked by a Hawaiian though? Those fucking Hawaiians don't like cook around Spam, dude.
oh yeah, yesterday, yeah, there was this Hawaiian guy that came over to the house and cooked it for me.
Okay.
Wild. See, you know.
Yeah, Don Ho was the guy's name.
It's Rikishi showing up and just cooking you frickin' this good fried Spam sandwiches, man.
Two women came with these things that put around my neck, and they did
The dancing.
Nothing better than getting laid in your kitchen, brother.
Got to do it somewhere. That's funny. Yeah.
We got to talk about the tournament wins. Your first big tournament, the ARW, the Asylum Deathmatch tournament back in July 2022. Yep. What was, once you won that match, your hand was held high, you won the tournament. What was going on in your mind? Like, I made it,
It just definitely waves because like it was a combination of who I beat in the tournament, like that was the company that gave me my first death match, and also the building I had my first death match in. So like a lot of those people that were at that show were there like since the beginning of me, you know, in my deathmatch career. And it was, you know, a lot of combinations of like emotional waves and physical waves, because like I was beat down, man. Like, you know, from Necro rocking my shit, from like taking all the glass from Bo Raven, Josh Crane, Necro, Brad Cash, and Otis Kogar. Like, you know, I went through and pinned 5 dudes in that tournament. Because in that finals, that elimination finals, I pinned everybody. So like I was dog tired. You know, I was like the only other spot I was probably more tired in was Carnage Cup. And so I was emotionally like on a high, but physically just like drained. So it was like this weird in between of just waves of surrealness, you know.
Absolutely.
I can only imagine.
How far of a drive is that for you from the AWR tournament?
So from here, it's only an hour and a half.
Okay.
But when I started going there, it was 11 and a half hours.
Oh.
Because that was the closest Fed to me that did death matches at all and regularly. So they were initially doing like a new blood show where it's like, you know, they bring in new talent. They kind of see like who wants, like if it's kind of see who they like and dislike. And like I was me and another carload of Kansas wrestlers, and they liked all of us. We kept coming back for like new blood shows and kept getting on like the main card shows the next day. And eventually, like I kept pressing him, like, "Hey man, I want to do death matches," because he made a joke at the beginning. He's like, "I know you guys think I'm a death match company. I don't make everybody do death matches unless you want to." And I'm like, I put my hand up. And he was like, "Oh yeah, really?" I was like, "Yes." Kind of the reason why I'm here. Like, so I kept pressing old Gary Emmett, my giant gangly brother, now to give me a shot, and that's, you know, how I got Pondo and stuff.
So once you won, it was an hour and a half drive back.
Thankfully, I had a place to crash, so like I didn't have to do the old driving with glass in my ass for you know, an hour or so. I got to go crash I got to go to the flop house in Indiana and sit there and debate taking the shower.
Ooh,
so
the shower.
that is my least favorite part of death matches for sure.
The showers for sure.
The shower.
Everyone says that. Everybody says that the shower's worse than the actual match sometimes.
I know one person that doesn't think that, and I call him a madman every time I fucking, like, I don't know if you watch Deathmatch Down Under a lot, but York from Deathmatch Down Under loves the after deathmatch shower. I think he's insane.
That's nuts.
But how do you get all the glass in the back? Because I get I broke a dish in my kitchen and step on it. I'm talking microscopic sliver, like the size of a nothing, and I'm trying to get the damn thing out. How did they get it out? How do you get it out?
Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I don't. I let it sit in there until I can have like what I refer to as a glass zit, and I get to pop it out later. I had one in my back for about 9 months from when I fought Randy West at No Peace, because she like missile drop kicked me off the stage through a pain, and part of that pain went in my low back. I couldn't get it out. And so I sat in there for a few months, 9 months. It was almost like, I was thinking about it, I was like, oh man, it's been like 3 or 4 months, right? And then my friend was like, dude, it's been like 9, because he did that shit in like November. I was like, oh damn. And then one day at the gym, I was doing good mornings, and fucking I felt it like all the pressure in my back, and just shot out. I'm like, oh sweet. Because it's been bugging the shit out of me, because every time I sit in a steel chair or whatever, I can feel it like pressing into my back and feel it like wiggling around. So I was like, God damn it, I wish I could just get this thing out, but it won't. It's such a stupid angle and a stupid shape that I couldn't just get it out by myself.
That's funny. A wrestler one time sat back like this. He says, ah. I'm like, what's wrong? He says, a piece of glass. I'm like, he's in there. He said, don't you hate when that happens? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't you hate when that happens? I'm like, I don't know.
My favorite scenario of that is I was it was the day after I wrestled in Vegas, and I was sitting there at one of the like a super, you know, chill diner. I was eating my food, and like my forearm, like I use my forearms a lot for like forearm smashes and strikes and stuff like that. So my forearms were shredded. I'm sitting there just eating my food, and I'm like sitting there, and I hear like this crunch in my mouth, and I'm like, oh, what the fuck was that? So I reach back, and I have a wisdom tooth that's kind of fucked up from Mickey. And so I reached back and pulled out this piece of glass that was like lodged in my wisdom tooth, and I put it on my plate that was empty. And the waitress just walked by as I did that. And she stopped halfway walking. She's like, "What is that?" I'm like, "Glass." And she's like, "Was that in your mouth?" I was like, "Yeah."
See, they don't.
And then like the dude beside me is like, "Oh man, like, you're really shredded up. Like, what happened?" I was like, I'm a professional wrestler. I was like, "What do you guys do? Wrestle in glass?" I was like, "Yeah, have a nice day."
Yeah, I've been to shows like, what are they bringing those tubes out for? Why are they bringing that stuff out? You know, I mean,
The tournament, the first tournament that I know you were there.
Yeah.
I know JD brought a lot of people to the show. There had to be people that had no idea what. To expect.
Yeah. Okay. A lot of times CZW would run outdoor shows, and they like sold shows or shows around things, and of course they put signs up, wrestling. You know, they didn't say death, and I would see people bringing like local people seeing like, oh, you know, they don't want to go all the way to Philly, pay the parking, the $50 tickets, $20, $15, stuff like that. So they would bring a family, and man, I spotted them. I'm like, I know they don't know what's going on. And usually, like, first match would be all right. I've even seen them bring. I remember they brought a group of handicapped kids to a TOD.
Hell yeah.
You know, they like to take kids. So I'm thinking that they're like a group home thing, and they probably like wrestling. You know, everybody wrestling. So somebody, I guess the group leader or like, well, wait, let's take the kids to the wrestling show. I heard they're having like, oh, they want it so much. Let's surprise them. And I'm looking, and I gotta look at them. And then once the hardcore stuff started doing, I'm looking at the bumps and the craziness, and I'm like looking at the people, and I'm like, and they're like, oh my God, get out of the way. And you know, they're going through the thing, and you see people like, we're fans, we're right in there, like, yeah, get him, hand him in a chair, you know, stuff like that. And then, but these people are like running from the hills, and we're running towards it. And that was funny. And sometimes I'd be like, yeah, hey, you kids to the wrestling. Yeah, we saw the sign out at the mall or the outside. Like, yeah, they love wrestling. I'm like, okay, good. And then they get surprised too. But I've seen people.
Dude.
Huh?
As I say, it's always 50-50. Like, you know, like people don't know what it is. Sometimes it'd be like super duper into it and be way more into it than you think. Or like leave halfway through, you know, like.
Yeah. We didn't know what that was. But yeah, that was funny. What else weird stuff?
That's how I kind of got introduced to deathmatch wrestling. I seen an ad on a mainstream magazine about wrestling in South Philadelphia, and it was in 2002. 2002 it was one of the magazines, and I was like, let me check it out.
Yeah.
I fell in love with it. You know, my dad took me.
Yeah,
fell in love with it ever since.
I brought a few old girlfriends to shows, and one time we went to. There was a Philadelphia. It wasn't a CZW. It was I think. What was the other one?
Bring up.
No, not Ring Up. They threw chairs. Anyway,
PW.
So we were there, and I figured it was, you know, I went to the PW show, and she was sitting there, and out of nowhere, they started throwing the chairs. So I don't know what happened. You know, the guy goes like that, and all the chairs started flying. And she's like, ah! I'm like, here, throw a chair.
Those are my favorite fucking spots, dude.
So she went, and she was a dental hygienist. And she went and told her friends that he took, and I just kind of met her, and she took you to what? Yeah, wrestling on a date. Yeah, they were throwing chairs and bleeding all over them, and then these guys almost fell on us. And her nurse, or dental hygienist, they're like, "What? Who is this guy? What?" And they're like, and she liked me, so she was like, "Yeah, all my friends think I shouldn't see you anymore." They're like. One was saying I'm dangerous. I'm taking you to dangerous places. Oh, and it was at the ECW Arena, which is already kind of like a South Philly. And it's a girl that's never been to anything weird. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like local. And I exposed her to like a seedy part of town, rough and tumble people, violence. But I mean, it blew her mind. She was like, I can get her on the phone. And
She's still
I mean, that's a ballsy move, taking somebody to a wrestling show on a date anyway, let alone like a hardcore like deathmatch show, man. It's like
it wasn't a hardcore deathmatch show. It was a
it's chairs and blood. Like
no, the chairs came out of nowhere, and that wasn't planned. We never planned that, and there wasn't that much blood, but they were bleeding. But to a person that never sees anybody bleeding,
right, that's a lot. Like it's like, yeah, that's kind of a good note. It's like, you know, to a normal person, like not a an average like hardcore deathmatch fan, like anybody bleeding is a lot of blood to them, you know?
Yeah, right, yeah. And she's in the medical field. She's like, well, he should stop what he's doing immediately and get care. Let alone what you guys do. That would really that could actually make someone like mentally
traumatized.
I've had many weird conversations with like doctors and like people in the medical field about what we do, and I'm like, yeah, I know I know it's not good, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Like I know my body, and I know what I can and can't do. I'm fine.
That would be a funny thing to have somebody go to a therapist and say they were exposed to this thing, and then you show the video and the pictures, and a female therapist, she's, oh my, and you're like, yeah, my girlfriend does this, and she brought me to it, and I didn't even know she was doing this stuff, and I never seen anything, and she'd be like, oh my god, well, you need to bring your girlfriend in here, and we're gonna have to discuss this, and like, why did you expose this nice gentleman to this? And then she, you know what I mean? She could, the therapist could actually work with it like it is an incident. You know what I mean? Like,
dude, my old therapist thought it was really like beneficial. Like I told her what I did. Like I would come in to freaking, you know, stuff like that, and like obviously I would have new scars, or I would show her my fucking forehead, or like new scars and cuts up from gussets, or you know whatever else. And she's like, obviously, like this isn't good for your body, like to an extent, but like you know what you're doing, and you're a professional. It's like you're limiting the stuff. It's like controlled self harm. Like it's not like, you know.
Oh, in a dark room doing something weird.
Yeah. Like it's not super. Like it's not just self harm for self harm. Like there's other things involved with it, like entertainment, and you know, there's like so many layers on top of it compared to just like cutting yourself just because depression or whatever the scenario. So my therapist like, yeah, I was like, no, this is cool. Like you can keep doing that. Like,
right. Well, I would consider it like boxing.
Yeah.
Somebody's hitting you, but you're getting hit. But you're not in a room by yourself, just hitting yourself for the heck of it. It's an event. It's completely different. I got you.
Yeah, it's a totally different idea.
But you like to blow her mind, right? Anyway, a little bit.
Yeah, well, I would show her clips of my stuff like that. She's like, "What? How?" Like, you know, I showed her the roof bump at Carnage Cover. I show her clips of like me fucking taking the machete to Mickey Knuckles, something like that, and she's like, "That's crazy."
Oh God!
You know, like
you said a woman is doing this. Like, is that a girl you're doing? Oh, that might be a whole separate session there. Yeah.
That's always my favorite one because like, I have a really good gif of me freaking like doing the camel clutch with the machete to Mickey, and I show like my friends or whatever, like, man, like I can't believe that dude's bleeding so much. I'm like, that's a lady. And they're like, holy shit, because you can't tell what she looks like at all because it's crimson. So
yeah, that's funny. Yeah. I love those off the wall stories. Good.
So your second big tournament win, the Horror Slam Friday the 13th tournament.
Yeah.
Anything that comes to mind?
Like my first round was fun because like, you know, I got the Russell XPW. I'm gonna call him XPW superstar just to give him shit. Hardcore hillbilly. You know, okay. I've worked him a couple times, and then worked kind of a Michigan mainstay, Jeremiah Goldmain, and I just got I beat the dog shit out of those guys. So that was fun. And then the massive finals, which was a five-way elimination final. You know, me, John Wayne Murdoch, Satu Jin, MM3, and MM3's dad, DBA. And, you know, that was the second the bell rang, fucking chaos. Like, probably over 200 tubes. Like, John Wayne was pulling out a fucking pocket taser. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, me choke slamming MM3 through pains, and it came down to me and MM3, which is funny because in the first Horror Slam tournament, he's the one who took me out in the second round in the human pincushion death match. So I finally got my just desserts and ended up winning the tournament and their deathmatch title.
Oh, both. You won a tournament and the title.
Yeah, but then Satu Jin, being a freaking total coward, cashed in their little version of like Money in the Bank, and got me after running through the whole tournament, you know, and caught me off guard and fucking got the title. So, but thankfully, here in a couple of weeks, I get to fight his punk ass and take that title back.
Violent J was in the audience. Did you know that?
Yeah. I saw him hanging out kind of around the back talking to the boys and shit. It took me a second to realize who it was because, you know, he's not in paint. So I was like, oh, shit. That's the dude.
Yeah, J.J. Allen. Yeah, that. I've seen. Well, I'm sure you're probably going to get invited to POR. You ever heard of the POR Grand Prix?
Yeah. Freaking JJ's fed in Georgia, right?
No, it's in West Virginia. Yeah,
West Virginia. Yeah.
It's an easy ride for you if you're in Cincinnati. I've been to the last two, and they are crazy. Mad Justice, Satu Jin's been there. I mean, it's in a compound in the hills of West Virginia. No, Virginia, Timberland. Man, it's a great time. Did he tell you about that?
Yeah, I watched the first two Grand Prix. Like, they're fucking a blast, and they're like a tournament I'd love to be a part of. And like, I know Escobar's a fan of mine, so like that's always cool. So hopefully I can get on one of them Grand Prix and fucking just go ham, you know?
Oh yeah, those are great, man. I had a good time with it, and it's free. They don't even charge it.
Oh, that's rad.
No,
I didn't know that.
No, it's free parking. They don't free admission. You can publicly urinate anywhere you want in the woods. There's woods.
It's nature, brother. The world's
a fan favorite place. Yeah, I mean, it's good. It's a good place. And their dressing room is a tour bus, a school bus.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, it's a real underground scene, but it draws good.
Oh yeah, I remember they had Vice documentary dudes at the last one. So
yeah, there. Yep. Vice was there. Yep.
Yeah.
I didn't even recognize Violent J when JD posted that picture. I'm not used to seeing him without the makeup.
Oh, same. Like, I didn't even realize with him, so I saw him open his mouth and he had like a full diamond grill, and I was like, yeah, like there's only one person in this room that could be, and that's him. So
I reckon he's got some face tattoos.
Yeah. I wouldn't recognize him.
I would with the face tattoos.
Yeah,
and he's got the symbol around that. You got the trophy, huh?
Yep, I got the trophy. Got the tournament, got the belt for a hot second, and then got that taken away.
But you got to keep the trophy, right?
Oh yeah, man. I got it like here's right. Somewhere around here. Yeah, I got my trophy stowed away. Oh, there it is.
I like that. Oh, I got a few other things here.
It's a smaller guy. I got that one.
Yeah, man, that is nice. Yeah.
Yeah, my AWR one's a lot bigger and has thumbtacks and Kinsons on it, so I tried not to grab it enough because I forget that's on there, so I'll end up stabbing myself. Like,
right. You know, a lot of guys we know they end up losing their trophies or they sell them or they don't. That means a lot to you, doesn't it? You're gonna keep that.
Yeah, that's a huge thing to me, man. Like, that's just as important to me as a belt or, you know, like a big accolade, like, or, you know, even like, I don't even get rid of stuff that fans give me, man. Like, there's a dude up in Horror Slam who he does paintings of everybody. And I have every single one of the paintings he's done of me. I've still got like 5, like big poster size paintings.
Wow.
From this dude. And like, I have a lot of kid fans. Like, I have a lot of younger fans and they'll draw me stuff. And so I got like drawings from kids and, you know, I'll save those and put them away like in a special like folder or something like that, you know, and hang on to it. That's important to me, man.
Wow, that means a lot to me as a fan, knowing that it means that much to him. He's just not doing it for a payday or just he takes it real serious, like his trophy and everything like that. Yeah, that means a lot.
Yeah, I mean, like obviously there's going to be some types of fans that kind of get on my nerves and stuff like that, but like what are we without the fans?
Right, definitely.
It's psychopaths being psychopaths, like, you know.
Yeah, it goes with the territory. Yeah. Now, do you know he's in a band?
He's in a band.
Yeah.
Like what kind of band?
A metal band.
Like rock and roll?
No, a metal band. He does no,
Like rock and roll.
no. He's in a.
I mean, you're not wrong. Just like
he's in one of those hair metal. I think it's a Christian hair metal glam band.
yeah,
Like
I actually play in a Striper cover band.
yeah, Striper and it's like Striper and Poison.
Okay.
Ugh.
Oh, religious rock. Okay.
Yeah, got it.
Okay.
You didn't know that?
No, I had no idea.
Okay. So you don't follow your metal like I do.
Yeah, I didn't do my research.
No.
It's funny because I like Striper, but I don't like Poison.
Okay. Striper. I'm surprised you knew Striper because
Oh yeah.
You've heard of Striper? You remember Striper?
Oh yeah. Dude, I have a pretty decent like metal and rock like history. I did a lot of research as a kid because I was like, one of those things where like if I'm into something, I want to know as much about it as I can.
Oh, okay. Because it's heavy death metal, like
I
Cannibal Corpses. Yeah, he looked
fossilized.
Yeah, it's funny. So Cannibal Corpse is my favorite band. So that's funny.
Okay.
Oh, really? Like I like that stuff. Like I like all kind of metal, hip hop, rap. But I grew up on heavy metal, going to concerts, Metallica, all that stuff. And yeah, I like those bands. And I saw a documentary on Cannibal Corpse. They're like that. But
Centuries of Torment, was it that documentary?
Yeah,
Century.
he had a family, like a family guy. He looks like a regular guy, like you wouldn't even know who he is. And he's
Yeah. George is cool as fuck, dude. Like
really okay, yeah. So I was like, I mean, this is a guy in Cannibal Corpse, and he's like a soccer dad.
It's like Schlack's band, right? What you talking about?
Yeah, kind of like that, yeah. But that's what his band's like. But it's intense. It's real. It's like definitely.
Yeah.
But I didn't know. So you followed metal? Were you like? Did you like other types of metal too? Because I mean, I like.
Yeah. I like all types of freaking heavy music, and not. I mean, I'm also like a big hip hop head. I like music in general, man. Like I have. Like I have a big circle of fifths and a big bass clef, freaking implanted on my skin. Like I've been playing music since I was 8. Like I went to college originally for freaking jazz performance. Like music's important to me. So,
wow. Man, see, nobody knows that. But
yeah,
I'm glad this is getting out.
Yeah.
So, but
I can read, I swear.
What?
Said I can read, I swear.
No, I saw your interview the other day on the Spooky Dust, and I'm like, I didn't know what to expect from you. Yeah, actually, I thought you were gonna be like, I don't know if I could joke around with this guy, but I don't know. And the death metal part, I'm like, but what made you into death metal? What gravitated you towards the death metal? The hard, real hard.
I think it was a lot of like, especially like from a musician brain, a lot of it was just like the skill level of things. So like I originally got into your rock stuff. Like I was a really big like Pink Floyd fan. I was a big Rush fan, Kansas, Zeppelin, The Who, when I was younger. And then my older cousins, who were like my brothers, started getting into like new metal. So I got super into like Korn, Limp Bizkit, Stuck Mojo, like stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
And then like once you get into heavier music, you kind of just want to keep getting heavier. So like I got into thrash metal a bunch. Like I love like my old Metallica. I love Anthrax, Testament. The SOD is like my favorite fucking thrash band.
Suicidal Tendencies.
Yeah, Suicidal's fucking dope. All the crossover bands like them. I've shared the stage with DRI. Like those, that was cool.
Oh.
And then like going faster and more brutal than that, got into bands like Cannibal Corpse was the one. I heard Hammer Smash Face, and I was like, that's sick. And that just evolved into like Obituary, Death Angel, or not Death Angel, but Morbid Angel. Dying Fetus, and it just kept getting into more and more technical, more brutal shit. So.
Right. Yeah, no, I like it. I listened to it. You have 2 EPs out on the YouTube I checked out. Yeah.
I like the second one is the one I prefer because it's got our newest drummer and it's got me on vocals because we changed out our vocalist from the first EP and it changed out our drummer because the drummer just had a new baby, so he got super busy. And then our old vocalist just kind of wasn't pulling his weight enough, so we ended up pulling him.
Wow. And you did so, and you've been on tours. I was doing a little research. I saw one you listed like a little tour you did, Midwest, Kansas, and stuff.
Yeah. I've done a handful of like 3 or 4 day runs, and I've done one like 11-day tour like throughout the Midwest, and so that was cool. I was filling in for another band because like that was kind of my goal when I was really focused on music, was like I wanted to be a studio bassist and a touring bassist, like somebody, you know, who's really fucking good that just get the call. It's like, hey man, it's like we need you to learn these like 10, 12 songs. And you're gonna come do this month-long tour in Europe or whatever. So, like that was kind of the idea. So
he's a jack of all trades, and you did some boxing too, right? You said.
Yeah. I never did any like professional fights or anything like that, but I did like boxing training for a couple of years. So that's why, you know, every time you see me throwing punches in the ring and shit like that, this hand's always out. Like I never put the left hand down and throw punches. It's always blocking, you know, throwing jabs, hooks, whatever.
So he's a legitimate tough guy.
Yeah. You wouldn't want to mess with him.
Yeah, but now, you know, tough guys like you that are strong and they avoid fights in public. Like, do you ever, because of you're in the wrestling field, you're in the tough guy, you know, metal, you're around like incidents where you could get into a fisticuffs. You avoid. Are you a fighter?
It's a complicated question. I don't ever seek out fights. I don't ever seek out fights, but I definitely finish fights. I'll put it that way.
Oh, okay. You've been in. See, after I became an adult, I don't know if I ever had a fight, but
yeah, I used to work security in a hip hop club, and so I used to fight people. Yeah. So yeah, it's funny because I've actually used a couple of wrestling moves to like eject people, and that's like one of my favorite things. Like I remember one time I ended up like fall away slamming this dude like out the front door because he was trying to fucking throw hands with his ex-girlfriend. So I scooped him up, cross-bodied him. He was trying to fucking post on the speakers in the sidebar to like stay where he was at. Yeah. I bumped him through, freaking ran him to the door, turned around, and just threw him outside. I was like, "Hey, bye."
You were about doorman bouncer, right?
Well, I was specifically the DJ bouncer. So like, there's a VIP section in our club right next to the DJ. So it's like real nice, fucking like leather couches, kind of elevated from the dance floor. So I was right there. I saw these two dudes, like this chick and this dude, kind of like arguing. So I was watching it the whole time. And then I saw this dude fucking cock his fist back, like he's about to fucking hit his girl in the face. And so I kind of slingshotted myself over the guardrail. Like it's probably like a good fucking 8-10 foot drop. Dropped up to the dance floor. And I like ran to grab this dude, and I just like jumped and scooped up this guy. And I was like, "Hey man, you know, we need to leave." Like, so then toss his cap.
So when there's an incident as a security like that, when there's an incident, is there any way? I've always seen people try to talk themselves like, "I didn't do that." Once you say you got to leave, there's no way to talk yourself back in that night, right?
No. Well, like I always kind of like, that's why I watch enough, you know, to be like, to see where the redeemable portion is at. But the second I'm like, "Well, you're done, you have to leave," there ain't coming back.
It's over. You've been evicted.
Yeah. You had your chance. You had your chances unknowingly, but you had your chances and you failed all of them.
But then they always want to plead their case. Like, let me tell you what I want, right? And nobody.
Yeah, like that's cool, man. We can talk about it outside. And then I just leave them outside and then leave. Go back in and do my job.
It's great when you can use professional wrestling moves in real life.
Dude, it's wild. It's you know, when those kind of happen, man. Like, usually always hear stories about people throwing the front face lock on. Like, that's always kind of the one that people go to. But yeah, the fall away slam was one, and I've choke slammed the dude in the pit one time. That was funny. Like I was moshing at a show, or I was like in a crowd of the show. The dude wanted the mosh, and I wasn't feeling like moshing. So the dude kept like kind of hitting me, and then he fucking caught back and hit me in the face. Like punched me in the face because he was mad I wasn't moshing. So I fucking grabbed him by the throat and grabbed him by the shorts, picked him up, pinned him to the floor. I was like, "Hey," and he kept, like he was drunk as fuck, and so he kept trying to like throw hands at me from the ground. And I was like, "You have about like 4 seconds to think about what you've done, and don't do it, because I'm gonna knock your ass out on the floor where you're already at." So he kind of like calmed down, and you know, I went cooled off a bit.
He's a legitimate.
Yeah, no.
Don't shoot on him.
Besides death metal and deathmatch wrestling, what else are you into?
Everything.
I'm a really big nerd.
Okay.
Like I know they're kind of hard to read, but like my tattoos on here, I like they're big D20s, like Dungeons and Dragons dice.
Okay.
So,
Oh,
yeah. So I love tabletop games, and I'm really big into like Magic the Gathering. So I play like card games and shit too.
Okay. Some of them cards are worth a lot. One of my coworkers was telling me, he sold a $90 card. I was like, wow. I didn't
Oh,
know
dude, I got one I got for my birthday. It's like a $250 card.
yeah,
nuts.
the
Yeah.
Dungeons and Dragons.
The Dungeons and Dragons, the trading card, yeah, the game.
Man, years and years ago, I was in school, and my buddy, I guess they were trying to recruit a Dungeons and Dragons group, and I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah. And I go there, and they got these dice and these cards, and it's a little. And I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, well, you got to pick a thing and your powers. I'm like,
It's a little.
what? I couldn't do it.
No, man, it's cool. Like I mean, I started it's really weird to think about. But I've been playing tabletop games for like 21 years. I've been playing them since.
Really?
Yeah, I've been playing it since I was 8. I haven't really stopped playing. So like, it's a weird resurgence because like even back when I was a kid, in the early 2000s, like late 90s, like I was made fun of for fucking playing D&D, and now it's like everybody and their grandma plays D&D, and it's cool. I'm happy that the hobby's like, doing all that shit, but like, y'all were making fun of me fucking 15 years ago. Like,
Yeah. There's a shopping center in Smyrna and Acme. There's a next to the way back. They're renting out a whole store, and they have board games, and they play on weekends. They're on there all day.
dude.
And I'm looking in the window, and they got their little stuff out, and I couldn't even begin to play it, but they're in there playing for. I don't even know what the purpose of. I don't know what your goal is. I don't know.
I can. Okay, so if you think of it like wrestling, because they're literally the same thing. I always pitch to people, like, if you have a problem with your character or like getting your gimmick over, play D&D or play a role-playing game, because it's literally the exact same thing. Because you're playing somebody you're not, right?
Yeah.
Like your wrestling character can be you, but usually it's either like elevated or something completely different. Like,
For sure.
what's like the Undertaker's not the Undertaker 100% of the time. When he's the Undertaker, he's literally a undead 6'10" wizard that shoots lightning and fights people. Does that not sound like a D&D character?
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. So like, if you have a problem with improv and storytelling, that's literally all D&D is, because you have your dungeon master, which would be in wrestling perspective like your GM or whoever has the pencil. They're right there. They have the big main story. They have the big fucking skeleton arc. You're the character. You're the one, the wrestler or the character that's going through and making the story have color, have a purpose, like improving things that the GM or the dungeon master didn't even think of. You're adding on to the story, and you're playing a character at the same time. It's literally the same shit. This one's fucking ultra violent. Like,
how do you win at the end of the night? They're in there playing all night in the store.
you don't win. That's like you can have like a one shot where it's like a one. Think of it like an old episodic like TV show, like Twilight Zone. Like you can have like an episode of Twilight Zone where you go and have the beginning of the story and the end of the story, and you're done in an hour. Or you can have like a wrestling program where you have months or years of story built up to one ending moment. And that's usually how D&D works, where it's like you have months of sessions of story building, of character building, of seeing, characters go away, introduced, like falling in love with people, like all these big, changes in the world or the universe, or call it, over time. And then you get to hopefully have the payoff towards the end, or you might just die in the process. So
Hey, yeah. I'm gonna stick to TV.
hey man, that works too. Same shit. Like
I just can't do it. I tried it.
it's cool, man. There's a lot of wrestlers that do play, man. I'm always kind of baffled at some of them that do. I'm like, oh yeah, it's like we should, I've always wanted to start like a Dungeons and Death match, like little thing. I think it'd be fun.
Oh no, for sure, it's different. Like I said, a lot of people in my work play, and I was surprised with the cards. You know what I mean? Because I know it's been around for so long.
Yeah,
pretty pricey.
Oh yeah, man, it's nutty. Even cars that I had as a kid, like I remember having cards 10 years ago that I could get for $1, and they're like 10 times that price or 20 times that price now.
That's nuts. And the prices go up and down, I believe, right? Sometimes
It's like stocks. It's super. It's cardboard stocks, man. That's all it is.
Oh, it's like Beanie Babies.
Mike's a big.
Yeah, it's a Beanie Baby fucking dropped off. This one's been around for, oh God, almost 30 years. It came out in 90, or no, over 30 years. It came out in 92. So
I'm the type of guy that like, well, I had that. What'd you do with it? Threw it out. You threw it out like,
oh man, dude, that's like I get fucking heated. Like, because I'm also a big comic book collector too, man. And I hear people like, yeah, I used to have like these old Superman comics. And I just like chucked them out. I was like, what do they look like? I was like, oh, the cover was like him picking up a car. I'm like, you threw out an Action Comics #1. It's like, you just threw out $1 million, bud. Like, why did you do that?
Well, how much were they? They took 12 cents. When did you get them? 60s. They were my mom's. Yeah. Well,
It hurts my soul, brother. Like,
I'm a fan. I collect wrestling memorabilia, so sometimes I'm the same way. Like someone will be like, "Oh, I got rid of the belt," or "I threw out the belt," or "I gave it to a fan." I was like,
I know.
It's nuts.
yeah, I used to have the black back card Hulk Hogan figure, man, and just like I just tossed it out and opened it up and never did anything with it. I'm like, oh God, no, that's like the rarest figure.
Were you a Hulkamaniac growing up?
I was not. I was never a Hulk Hogan guy. Like from that era, I like Jake the Snake a lot. Like I kind of liked Warrior, even though I know he's a bad wrestler, but the gimmick was cool. Like I was a big Road Warriors fan, so that was also like, or I guess Legion of Doom would be the time. So.
Everybody.
No, they were all good. They were all good back then.
Yeah.
Well, the gimmicks, they were all good.
Yeah, Ron Simmons also like another huge one I liked a lot. So, old Farouk later on.
The BJW Christmas show, that's on your bucket list.
Right? Yes, top of the fucking bucket list, dude.
Big
like,
Japan.
Yeah, Big Japan and Freedoms both have fucking Christmas shows that I want on both of them because I love Christmas, and so Deathmatch on Christmas is like, that's must be my birthday kind of situation.
They say that the American guys over there are just mob. They're just like the Japanese guys, the fans just take care of you, buy you food, they ignore the one. They're used to the regular guys, but you guys are like a specialty thing when you go over there because these guys.
Oh yeah.
And they would love you, man, with your look and size because you're like
he's a legitimate badass.
Yeah, he's a legitimate badass. And you would get over so like slack.
You might not come back. They might.
Yeah, like I always thought about, if I'm walking around looking like Baby Brody, they probably would like me. I'm not 6'10" by any means, but like, I'm bigger than probably most Japanese people. Like,
oh yeah. You're even bigger there. Yeah, you're even bigger over there.
You'd be huge over there.
What's the chance you get there? Or like, what do you have to do to get there? How do you get like?
I mean, just keep showing out, I suppose. Like, I don't, I'm gonna try to say this as much tactile as I can. I would love to be able to have a promotion kind of help me get out there. Like that'd be great if I was on a tour and fucking got to hop on. But if that doesn't happen, I'm gonna do things like the way I've been doing things my whole life and live, eat or be eaten, and find my way out there and grind to get there myself. So
yeah, like GCW goes there, right?
They go there.
Yeah, GCW does. CZW did. Back in the day. Like I feel like ICW is probably going to at some point, since they're hitting Australia a bunch and then hitting. They're just going to UK this weekend. So.
Oh yeah, they're in UK. UK. I watched a really good documentary with the Katal. You get IWTV?
Yeah.
The Kirks. Life with the Kirks. Did you see it? Watch that. That is really good. Casey Kirk went to Australia by herself, and it was really good documentary. It's like life with blank wrestler. They give them a camera and they videotape like a couple weeks of their life.
Yeah, me and Hoodfoot were talking about his, and it was really funny. He's like, I don't do a lot, so like.
He did one.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's out yet or like getting edited, but I'm pretty sure they're doing one with him.
Oh, you're running out of time.
No, we're good.
The camera?
No.
Oh,
Close to 9:50.
Ain't
Oh,
no
yeah.
thing.
Gotta work. He's got to do his gift. All right.
Yeah.
Only thing I recommend. I like. You might want to take up the because some of these things you had happening. Murdoch is the best at taping up his wrists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I tape mine about here, but my forearms are already fucked, so I really don't care.
Oh, okay. I'm just saying, like you like use a flesh colored thing if you want. If you don't, if you don't want.
I don't like armor. If I wanted to wear armor, I'd wear a shirt.
Oh, all right. Never mind. All right. We take this out.
I like my scars, man. Like I don't know. Like I say this a lot on to younger guys or like on podcast, like interviews and stuff. But like I consider like my back specifically like my battle flag. And so if you have more scars and more tatters and more tears on your battle flag, that's just more wars and more battles you've been through and survived. So you keep walking around with your battle flag. My forearms are included. So.
Right. But you do tape your wrist. I know you tape your.
Yeah, I taped about like right here, just so my arteries don't get cut.
Oh, okay. Yeah, then you're good. Yeah, you're good. I just
Yeah.
I didn't know if you taped because when you were telling me about your forearm injuries, I'm like, I don't know if you taped any. I can't recall.
I don't wear elbow pads either. I might probably do that eventually, but I don't like wearing them. So.
You've never worn a shirt in the ring. That puts you in that Jun Kasai group right there. Sure. Yeah, I mean, like right there.
Right, and that's kind of like my life goal, man. Is like I want to. It's weird to say that, but like I want to look like Takeda. I want to look like Kasai. I want to look like Ito and have the map of scars on your body because that's what we're supposed to. I mean, like I say what we're supposed to do. That sounds shitty, but like that's giving yourself to the art as much as you possibly can when you've given every single inch of your skin to the art. So.
No, I respect that. Yeah, the guys without the shirt. Look, even the guys with the shirts and they tape up, they're still going out. I mean,
100%. Like that was not me knocking dudes with fucking shirts. Like Pondo wears a shirt. Pondo does fucking crazy shit. Like He's the man. He's like Masada. Masada freaking wore a shirt forever, and he's like still one of the greats. Like
right. But you got like black. The Japanese.
Chris Bradley doesn't wear a shirt now.
Chris Bradley does not wear a shirt. No. He took a shirt.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Bradley. Ross and Bradley team up there. Yeah. Yeah, they the back in the old days, CZW, wife beater never wore a shirt. Mondo never wore a shirt. Look, I'm not. I hope nobody jumps on me. Don't jump on me. You've never been in the ring. Stop talking about shirts. But I'm just saying that's your. I saw in the other interview that you said you don't wear shirts. So you don't want to wear a shirt. But no, it's just it's taking it to another level when you don't have a shirt.
Right, and I think a lot of it's not even really like they don't want to get cut up. I feel like a lot of it's probably like body, like viewing their body differently. Like I don't look good enough to have a shirt on, or have a shirt off, so I'm gonna wear a shirt. Versus like I don't want to get cut up. It's like of course they're gonna get cut up. They're doing death matches. So like.
Oh, I see. Yeah, you're belt. Yeah, I guess you do one. Oh, Satu Jin, he's a big dude.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
He likes to wear shirts.
Yeah. That works for his gimmick a lot, though. Like Tremont's always wore shirts. Like obviously, I don't know Tremont. Like Tremont definitely cares more about getting his freaking forehead like looking like of the old like Abbey as much as possible. So everybody kind of has a trade,
Yeah, everybody's got.
Like we'll talk about Big F and Joe. Freaking Big F and Joe wears a shirt technically, but he wears no pants and no knee pads.
Yeah.
Baffles me, dude. Like I've had quite a few leg cuts, and leg cuts suck. So I couldn't imagine like just always getting my thighs and my ass and my freaking knees shredded every match.
Oh yeah. That match with Drake, he was all cut. He was messed up.
I like the one he did with Hoodfoot at ICW. That was a really fucking good one.
Crazy.
He's hard, man. He's hardcore. He was in TOD. Yeah. We did an interview with him. It was pretty interesting. You could check that one out. We did Raven Havoc, your buddy down there, and
Raven's my dude.
Yeah. But, real quick, if you had a dream match with anyone from the past, any deathmatch wrestler from the past, who would it be? What would be your ultimate dream match?
From the past, Nate Hatred.
Nate Hatred. Okay.
Nate Hatred.
Nate Hatred. Yeah.
What brought you? What gravitated you towards him? Because I remember him in CZW. He was a really nice guy.
That's good to hear. Like, because I always hate when we like, hearing about my idols and then they're like end up being not cool. But no, it's just being a power guy and like me always kind of being gravitated towards like guys who look like monsters. Him having the long hair and the face paint, and then bringing the intensity with all of that, like the look behind it, man. It was just, chocolate and peanut butter for little Rem. So
when he first came to CZW, he didn't do death matches, and then all of a sudden he started doing death matches, and and he went hard, and he wore like a very light tank. He was almost without a shirt. It was very light.
Yeah, it was kind of like a stringer, like it was really like a thin tank top. And then I think he kind of like, I mean, obviously I don't know, but I think he kind of maybe wanted to wear a singlet, but not look. I say this not talking shit about the singlets, but like not look as nerdy as a dude in a singlet. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right. Well, to tell you that since you liked him so, he was a nice guy. He was very
super nice.
He was super nice. I mean, just like a kid. He was very like down to earth and like not snobby, not like he was friendly with you. He'd stand out in front of people, just talking. And when did I last run into him? I think
the Eddystone show. I mean, I talked to him at the Eddystone show.
Where?
The hybrid show, Eddystone, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
I think you were there.
Well, the H2O show. He was at an H2O show just in the crowd.
Was he? Okay.
Maybe 6 years. I don't know, before he passed. Yeah, but he was a nice guy. So you would have liked him. And
oh, yeah.
He probably is up there. It's good that you're representing him and you like him and you look up to him.
He's one of the ones that got me in, man. So
one of your idols is confirmed as a good guy with everybody. Yeah.
Super good. Yeah, he definitely be my, like, if I also do non-death match like in the past, it's kind of a tie between Abyss and Taz. So
okay.
Taz,
awesome. Before we head out, do you have any questions for us?
How pumped are you guys for Ultraviolet Underground?
We're pumped. I can't wait. That's all we've been talking about. That's all I've been posting.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, good.
I'm a huge, like I said, I'm a huge old school CZW fan. Zandig's like my guy, So once I found out that it was coming back, once I found out he was involved, I was like, I'm in. I'm 100% in this company. I'm gonna share this, and we'll be there. Yeah, he seems intimidating and aura about him, but he's a nice guy. He's really like. Give him the old, the easy tag, the wrestler.
The dead fish handshake.
Yeah, he loves that. He loves that. He loves do that to him.
Bro, I hate that. Like, I remember when I was a kid and I freaking shook big freaking Supermax, Big Hernandez's hand, and he gave me a hella worker handshake, and I was super confused. Like,
the little this fish.
Yeah, it wasn't just the fingers, but just like he put his hand in my hand and like didn't squeeze it all and just kind of like put it in there. I was like, "What happened? That was weird." Like, it's like, am I in a gang now? What happened? Like,
you know what? I do that to people I meet or relative, anybody. I do that on purpose, just to like, what kind of handshake is that? Yeah, just to like get to just to
fuck
like.
with him.
Yeah, and I don't tell him it's a gimmick, it's a wrestling thing. I just do it. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to keep the tradition alive in my own way, just to get. No, really. I'm like, if I meet someone, I go like that, and just to like, what kind of guy is that? Like, little do you know, it's a wrestler handshake. Yeah.
Right. I won't give freaking like good grips to everybody because like there's so many handshakes. I'll do like quick fucking in outs to like everybody and shit. I'm like, yeah, here's that, or Nux, or fucking big forearm like handshakes and shit like that. I'm like, good, let's go. Like, I got 40 more people hands to shake. So,
Remington, thank you so much for being here with us. The Carnivore, Remington, we were going to see you March 25th at the Ultraviolet Underground.